I
That's
advertise
right.
on YouTube. I don't care
Yeah.
who, it could be an alien video or it could be your channel or, it could be anything.
It could be, but we're live now, and
Oh, sorry.
it's no, we're good. It's good because it shows the audience out there that yes, we do actually talk before the show
Oh yeah. Yeah.
about all sorts of stuff. But how are you doing, buddy? Good to have you back.
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm surviving in the Canadian cold that has finally kind of set its foot into my neck of the woods. So we're averaging about like -2 to 1 degree Celsius on a daily basis. So I've got a space heater around. I've got some blankets, some extra layers. All those things needed to stay nice and warm um, while working out on some cool stuff. And I take it that winter's kind of made its planted its roots in your neck of the woods as well.
Yep, it's starting to rear its ugly head. We're getting the cold and the ice, but no real good snowstorm to enjoy. Just cold and miserable. But we'll get a couple of snowstorms and it'll feel like at least winter. The good
Yeah,
what good you can get out of winter.
I know. Like I mean that's one of the things I miss is when I was a kid, we used to grab the sleds or toboggans as we call them up here, and you hit a hill and have some fun when in the snow. But I'm too old for that.
If I do, yeah,
And my god
I'd
kids are
get
too old
hurt
for that.
slight. Yeah. Now you think about, oh, that's really going to hurt. I'm not going to recover if I fall.
It's like the ice is only going to make it worse when I'm injured, as opposed to
Yep.
like cooling down the injury.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
but speaking of like kids and fun stuff and things of that nature, we got an interesting script this week. We're going to get to that in just a moment. We have confirmation that we're coming in 5 by 5, which is good because yeah, we we want to make sure that we're nice and clear for you since we don't have anything physical going on with the visuals. This is mostly an audio web show. So with that, sir, let's get into it. Welcome to Scripts on Saturdays, the only screenplay review show on the interwebs, discussing scripts both professional and amateur, circulating around Hollywood, giving you, the TV and movie-going audience, a behind-the-scenes and inside track on what writers are pushing and what producers are buying. I am your host, the Script Doctor, and joining me this week, Jake from 52 Movies a Year. Always happy to have you back on the show, sir. It hasn't been too long of a stay between episodes, but I want to know, you had a good Thanksgiving. We're on the home
Oh
stretch
yeah.
towards Christmas and the New Year.
Yep. Just getting ready to settle in for Christmas, getting shopping done, and try and enjoy the best things that this season brings, family and friends. But
Yep,
yeah, no, it's exciting. Episode 101.
that's right, 101. I wanted to do the follow up on Wednesday, but the weather's been in such good favor for a production I'm on that I keep getting yanked away.
Hey,
So,
that should come first anyway,
well, I
you
mean,
know.
it's just fascinating for um like for the last few years, like given the state of the industry, work was there, but it was like few and far between. And then just this past summer, it's been just back to back to back to back. So I'm happy with that. They're decent jobs. They might go into something else. Um, on top of that, if things go really well over the next month, might have a fun announcement to share with Patreon and people supporting the show. So cross your fingers, send good vibes that we get to pull this off. It's going to be an interesting venture. But speaking of interesting ventures, our script this week is called Until You. It's written by Cameron Fay, and this placed 69th on the 2024 blacklist with 10 votes. So it's a little bit towards the bottom of the rung. But I don't know. There might be something about this. Jake, will you please share with us the log line for Until You?
Yep. Let me pull that up. Sorry, I should have been more on the ball. There we go.
That's okay.
Yeah, still got to open the email.
We'll just keep
All
on
right.
vamping until you're ready to go. That's how you
Okay.
do good radio.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, here we go. When a chance encounter thrusts two perpetually single people together, their undeniable connection leads to a romance unlike anything they've experienced, while hiding a secret that could tear it all down.
Yeah, so that seems pretty dramatic and
Yes.
definitely gives a tone of something a little different than what it is, but it is a very honest log line. So for the synopsis for Until You, goes as follows. So Mallory Woodson desperately seeks a committed partner to build a life and family with. After yet another date goes south, she literally stumbles into charming bachelor Foster Keating, a man deeply wary of marriage. A man deeply wary of marriage. Instant chemistry sparks, but their completely opposing views on forever leave them at an impossible crossroads. So the log line, when I first read it, I was thinking, oh, this might be kind of like a romantic thriller. And
Mhm.
I think I might have incepted that idea to a lot of other people when I posted that. But the script itself is definitely romantic. It's just not a thriller. It's a straightforward drama. And yeah, I have a few initial thoughts on it. But before I taint the well, I want to get your take, Jake. Share with us like your initial thoughts from like the first few pages as it started.
You know what? I actually liked the setup. I thought it was pretty good. I have to, going back to logline and synopsis, I kind of thought they opposed each other unless you read the whole thing, and then you kind of go, well, okay. One looked at it one way, one looked at it another.
Right.
But I definitely, you know what? I thought it started out well, set up New York City, set up people. I feel like this writer uh I like the setup with the first date with Mallory and Paul, the George Costanza looking guy.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I was saying, I think the writer describes the characters really quickly,
Hmm.
and they get a voice, distinct voice, pretty quickly, or at least I felt that way.
Yep.
And but yeah, I was one of the people going, okay, this could be a thriller, yeah. And then as I'm reading, I'm going, I don't. If this is a thriller, I don't know what they're setting up that could be the tension.
Yes.
But
I mean, I was in the same boat. I thought the characters, each one that's introduced has a very strong, distinct voice.
yeah.
And but one thing that did throw me off a little bit is that the first page, it is written as if the writer is sitting across the table from me and talking to me, which is it's conversational, but it's not really. How do I want to put it? It's not really descriptive.
You know what? I
um,
was going to ask you about that because
yes,
this first page did seem different from anything I've ever read, and I didn't know if that was
it, it
acceptable. So,
it's an old trick that a few notable writers, not necessarily positively notable, or notable in a positive way, have done this, and this was back in the early aughts. Um, One that used to do this was son of John Landis, Max Landis, who wrote Chronicle,
oh,
and he would do this trick where he's basically saying, I'm writing this story, but I want the person reading it to imagine that I'm just sitting in a room with them and I'm just telling them the story as it happens, like it's a campfire story. And
oh,
it's an
okay.
element that's different because it's a different type of voice. It doesn't feel so distant um, from from the content that's on the page. But the other part too, it also shows a lack of discipline, or at least conveys that the person who's writing this is not very disciplined. They're just kind of vomiting out an emotional way of speaking or describing things, um, in the hopes that it'll cut through the barriers that a reader would have when they're reading something. Because when you write something, you're writing it in the third person, and you're describing things in the third person. But the way that Cameron did it here is that he made himself as the narrator talk to you in the first person while telling the story at the same time in the third person.
Oh, okay, so this is something, if you were going to have a narrator, even if the narrator was hit and miss,
Mm-hmm.
it would look like this.
In a
But
sense, but this is what's called the hidden narrator, right? So
oh, okay.
there is no narrator that, as a moviegoer, we would ever hear, see, or know, and a lot of information that's conveyed in these descriptions can inform performances, but but they're not really going to be conveyed on the screen in the same intensity, the same level of intimacy that is what's on the page. And this goes why we call this type of writing like novelistic, because it goes back
Yeah.
to when you and I were kids, a few decades ago. A lot of the movies that we saw were actually based on books that we probably never heard of. But you'd always have that one person that that read the book and says, the book is better. Why? Well, because the book creates a far more intimate connection to the reader in a very different on a very different plane compared to sitting in a movie theater and watching it. It doesn't mean that one is more valuable than the other. It just means that you have two different forms of the same story that connect with an audience in two distinct ways. One is at your pace, like when you're a reader, you're reading at your own pace, which means that you could finish a book in a day, you could finish a book in a week, you could finish a book in a year, however long it takes you to read it. You are in control. When you're in a movie theater or watching it watching it as a movie, you are not in control of the pace. The pace is happening. Like it's this is the speed it's going to go. You are stuck with it, and some people can connect with that, and some people can be divorced from that. So that is why you kind of get a little bit more of a preference for people that say, you got to read the book, because
Yeah.
you as the audience member are in a little bit more control. You're not in control of what's on the page, but you're in control of how you digest what's on the page.
Okay.
And when you're watching a movie, sometimes you can watch a movie and you can really enjoy it, but you can miss so much, and that's why you got to watch it again and then again and then again, and that's how you kind of like strip away all the
Yeah.
superficial stuff and you get to the heart and the core of what's going on there. And there's an advantage of that, because if it's a really good superficial film with a lot of depth and interesting meanings behind it, then you're constantly going back, ideally to the movie theater, to watch it again and again to get more and more and more.
Oh, okay.
So those are the things that you have, and those are really difficult to do. This particular screenplay, I would say that it's superficial, like everything is kind of on its surface, but there's a charm to it because the
Yeah.
characters have such a distinct voice. And even though the very first page is like a wall of text, it flows very fast. It doesn't feel dense. It doesn't use complex language. It also doesn't try to insult you, which is also great. Like it doesn't try to speak above your own level of experience, and I think that works out well. And it does drop some easy identifiers to make things work. So we have Mallory. She's 33. She knows how to wear makeup, which says a lot about a woman, because you can have the people that wear makeup to the point where you don't think they're wearing makeup, and then you have women that
Yeah.
wear so much makeup you're like, the circus is in town, really. um, so
Yeah.
so
It's
we have
shocking when
that
you see him
aspect.
without
Yeah, exactly.
it.
And then you have like Mallory's described as that. She's kind of dressed in a fashion that's like a mix of borrowed, and then you pull in Annie Hall, and then you have like the date that she's on. This guy named Paul, who's basically described as like Jason Alexander as George from Seinfeld, like
Mhm.
just in appearance, not in personality. And then of course they throw us the strange attractor, the thing that's supposed to hook you, and they do this right at the end of the first page, which is they establish that Mallory is more nervous on this date than Paul. And you would
Yeah.
think because of the physical attraction relationship that Paul would be so desperate to be with a woman as good looking as Mallory. And
And
we
he's kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of want to get away.
yes.
He's like, I'm not. Yeah, yeah. I'll call you. I'll call you. I'll call you.
Yes, because they're having a conversation. I guess it's been their fifth date, and she is very apologetic, and she's basically saying like, I should have mentioned this earlier, and Paul's trying to be polite and saying it's cool. I completely understand. It's makes sense. And Mallory is giving him permission to be able to say like, if you don't want to continue this, I completely understand. There's no hard feelings, no bad feelings, um, because what she has is a big ask, and we don't know what that is yet. And of course, Paul's trying to be polite and says, "I'll call," but I'm gonna go home. I'm tired.
Yeah.
and, and
I thought it was good visual and a
mhm.
good hook.
and
I did think that.
it's a good question too, because it plays on the stereotypes of what is common among film and television, where you have, like, the beautiful woman and the guy that's clearly not good enough for her. And in this case here, it makes you kind of think about the classic sitcoms where you've got, hey, here's the dad, he's a doofus and he's out of shape, but he's got this super hot wife. How did that
Uh-huh.
happen? and
Yeah.
and now we're seeing, like, is this an origin of that? Like, what's going on? What is the aspect that makes this particular woman so intimidated by a guy who physically is beneath her league, but possibly, like, emotionally, charismatically is like way out of her league? We don't know those details, but we do know that there's something that she did or is about her that is making a guy like Paul say, you know what, yeah, this might not be worth it. And that raised a lot of questions for me. Good questions. How about you for yourself, Jake?
It did. It did set up good questions. It is true to what the script, what it reveals further on down the in the story, and you understand why,
Yeah.
and you can fall back to it without really, it didn't. I didn't have a conscious thought, oh, that worked out, but until I rethought about it, I was like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, that's exactly why. That made sense, but it was done very efficiently.
Yeah. And we don't dawdle on it right away. As soon as Paul leaves, which is only, like, page 2,
Yeah.
um, Mallory gets on the phone to her best friend Chloe, who same age, but she's kind of a mess. In sweatpants, drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels, watching some sort of, like, criminal mind thing on Netflix,
Yep.
eating ice
Yep.
cream out of the jug. And she's there, she's supportive. She's like, we're gonna go to a bar, and of course, Mallory's like, well, keep it. I have to be home by midnight. She's got the Cinderella effect going on.
Yeah.
And of course, we have this very logical and understanding conversation between her friend Chloe and between Chloe and Mallory about, oh, yeah, I guess Paul's a jerk. He'd be lucky to be with you. And we find out that Mallory's been trying to date for a while, and she's contemplating maybe leaving New York because nobody in New York wants to settle down in a family. Once you get married, you kind of leave the state and you just commute back for work until you find a job in your own state. um,
Yeah.
and it's a kind of a heartfelt thing, because let me pull it up here. So this is like what Mallory says to her friend Chloe. People who want to settle down, New York is full of perpetually single people. The ones who get married move outside the city to Connecticut, Wisconsin, Iowa, that, like places like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I completely understand that. That's one of the interesting aspects of life. Like, rarely do you find, uh, the person or the couple, when they get together, they get married. If they met in the city, they stay in the city and they raise their family in the city. Those happen, but it feels kind of rare. It feels like when you're starting a family, you want to have a lot more control in order for you to kind of nurture and support those children. So you go to a place where it's a little less hectic, a little less quiet, a lot less variables, like what a city
Yes. Good.
has.
Yeah. Schools and other families, other kids, stuff like that. And we've seen it so many times in shows that even if you've never been to New York or anything like that, you understand that concept of people get together, start a family, move out of the city.
Yeah. Uh, but I mean, one of the things that I always found kind of fascinating, because I grew up in a relatively small town, so I grew up around families that did that. Um, when I had friends in other states, and I'd go visit them or I'd be there for work, you get all sorts of fun stories about, like, their kids, they're going to the school in New York. It's like PS 114 or something like that. And they tell stories about how the teachers are really good at, because they don't take any guff from the kids, and you've got all the weird stories of the crazy stuff that happens there. But you also see like there's two tiers of maturity between the friends kids that I saw going to living in the city, going to the schools there, versus my other friends who went to the suburbs and had the small school there. Both smart, both pools are smart, but one just has not a chip on their shoulder, but knows how to handle someone with a chip on their shoulder way better than the other.
Uh-huh.
And then the other one has like more patience, not no sense of urgency, far more calm when things go crazy. And I'm like, those are some interesting dichotomies I noticed. Now, like, again, this is anecdotal, but it's something that I found consistent with a few areas there, and I've seen some overlap with it here and there with some other friends when I talk to them about families and the different places they've left to, and you can completely empathize with Mallory, where she's like, yeah, I just want a family, and I'm literally in the worst city to try and start one.
Yeah. And yeah, and he or they that first part kind of did set that up and set up that's while it's beautiful and fun and it's got everything you need,
Mm-hmm.
it did set that up. And so at least you had that to draw. It's been pretty consistent so far for at least establishing pretty quickly what she wants.
Oh yeah, I mean that's one thing I really like is before we get to page 10, we know exactly what Mallory wants, and we don't. And we understand why, but we don't know the exact details as to why as of yet.
Right.
But we completely relate to it. It's like, oh yeah, you want a family, you want love, you want that comfort, a companion, someone to be with, to share life with. That is the easiest thing for people to understand, and that is a big crux of it too. And as she's kind of, getting reinforcement from her friend Chloe, she decides to, dance on the floor. She starts spinning around, and then she ends up slipping and knocking over some random guy who is immediately charming. Because she apologizes for knocking him down. He's like, "Oh no, it's good. I actually was curious what kind of flooring this place had." And Mark's like, "Oh, linoleum, nice, makes sense, yeah." Um, and then you have this classic type of like Hallmark scene of, oh, these two, their eyes connect and there's a spark, and there's definitely an instant attraction, and they have this very interesting banter between them. And then you also see an extra step of Chloe and how good of a friend she is, because like she jumps in right as
Mhm.
this guy's about to introduce himself, and she's like screaming like, "We're gay, bro, move on." And then this guy's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to," and Mallory stops him. She's like, "No, we're not gay. I don't know why she said that." And then Chloe's like, "Oh, apparently we're not gay anymore. Guess I'll just go. Guess got dumped. I'll see you later."
Yeah, you know what? I really liked that line. That was by the point I was
Yeah.
like, I chuckled. I thought that was funny because
I
the
yeah.
you have the trope of here's the person who's looking for love. Here's their best friend that's their supportive friend. You expect that trope to jump in, but for it to be entertaining and that's all you really want is that person to be fun and funny
Person to be
and
fun
not
and
just
funny,
there
and
to
then
move the plot forward, but
excuse me.
some good interactions.
Yes, and then on top of that, she's not the friend that's shooing away a guy after her friend has said no, no, it's good. She's the one that says, "Okay, I'm rolling with it. I'm being a good wing gal, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna let this play out because I trust my friend." Um,
yeah,
that says a lot about Chloe, and just that
yeah.
one little action here. And of course, now they do their names, so we find out this guy's name is Foster, and she makes the joke of like, oh, like the beer.
Australian for beer.
Australian beer is like, no, I've never heard of that before.
Never, never heard that one before. Yeah,
But we see that Mallory has a form of banter that's pretty, you know, it's not Joss Whedonish, which I really appreciated. Um, because she goes on the naming game for Foster before she figures it out. She's like, I feel like Bryant, maybe Bryce. Um, and then he's like, no, it's Foster. She's like, oh gosh, well maybe you're like one of a brother. Maybe you had brothers of Bryant and Bryce, and you're all a creepy family, and your mom's the type that wakes up at 4 a.m. to take cold showers before planning the whole day of homeschooling with her 5 blonde children. um, and yeah, like he's very confident, very flirtatious, um, and he's politely aggressive. Like he's saying, like I want to take you out. I want to see you, outside of this horrible bar. But
Yeah.
he's also a very honest person because he says like I'm leaving this bar because frankly I'm not impressed. I wasn't impressed with the women here until I saw you. And Mallory kind of squares him up pretty quickly. It's like, oh, you're the type of guy that comes to a bar, finds a cute 20-something, takes her home to have a fun night, and then moves on. And he's like, not for lack of trying. He doesn't hide it.
I thought that was good. I thought that setup. I liked the setup. I liked the banner that they had.
Oh yeah, I mean it's good. It feels natural. The other part too is that you have this aspect where Mallory is fighting an instinct she has. So she kind of pretty much profiled Foster as like this is not a guy you can commit to, and she speaks in a way that says I am telling you subtly, or not, and sometimes not so subtly, that you're good looking, you're nice and charming, but you are a waste of my time.
Yeah.
And Foster's like, the rejection is just make me wanting you more. And so you have these two characters that have share a lot of the same feelings, have the same type of end goal, a source like that. These two kind of want to be together, but Mallory is rejecting it based on a principle, and Foster is trying to defy that principle and maybe prove that he's not the type of guy that she's clearly nailed him on who exactly he is. Like that, he's saying, I can grow for this woman, and I don't know what it is about this woman, but I want to grow for her. It's kind of like that Romeo and Juliet love at first sight type of thing.
Hmm.
It works for the first act. I'm not sure how well it works carrying over into the second and third.
Yeah, that's fair.
But we end up, the Foster and Mallory, they don't carry on with the rest of the night. Mallory heads home, where her friend Damon is there, and we find out that he's been babysitting Mallory's 9-year-old boy, who is a big Pokemon fanatic. And so Damon's helped out. He leaves. Mallory goes, tucks her kid into bed, and we are led to believe that her being a mom is one of the deal breakers that's been keeping her single in New York for the past 10 years. And it's a really nice red herring of sorts.
Yeah, yeah, because it's entertainingly deceptive,
Yeah. Uh,
and it's true to it's not really being deceptive. It's just strategic interaction, I guess.
it is, and it makes you think, oh, so that Paul guy, he really was a jerk. If he found out that, yeah, Mallory's got a kid, and maybe he didn't want to be in that relationship, so that makes him a real big jerk. But
Yep.
there's this one little aspect that that the script mentions, but it doesn't quite resonate with an audience unless you're really paying attention for it, which is that Mallory went on 5 dates with this guy. And so there's statistical chance that she did mention she has a child, or he was able to find out that she had a
Hmm.
child, because if she has to be home by a certain time, um, and because babysitters, especially overnight babysitters, are very expensive and very hard to find these days. Yeah, that would raise a lot of questions, especially when you get to that third or fourth date. It's like, hey, do you want to come over? And she's like, yeah, I'd like to hang out and go out with you guys, but yeah, I got to be home by like 11, 12. And that it's not you can't just rely on work for of that all the time, because if you
Yeah.
do that, they're gonna say, well, call in sick. It's like, no, I can't. I got you're eventually gonna break that barrier and be like, yeah, I have a kid, I have to take them to school, or It's eventually
Yeah.
it's going to be broached, that subject. Yeah, but we find out Zach, he's tiny for his age. He's 9 years old, but he's really small, so he's a late bloomer. But
Yeah.
he's also really smart. Loves Pokemon so much that he caused his babysitter Damon to black out or pass out 3 or 4 times. Um,
Yeah.
and uh, and
But smart enough to notice that he did.
yeah, and so like yeah, they have a good relationship. So yeah, he's like, yeah, can we just hang out for the night? And she's like, no. And then she jumps into the bed and just cuddles with him like a good mom, and they
Yeah.
they kind of like tickle fight type of thing, I guess, or something. Um, but then we get to the next morning. They're on the Hudson River Greenway, and they're rollerblading to Zach's school. And Zach, of course, he's complaining because it's painful, and she's like, "Well, that means it's working." And he's like,
What's
"Well,
working?
what's working?" She's like, the fact that you don't know it's working proves that it's working.
Proves that it's
She's
working.
talking
I
about
like that.
exercise and strengthening muscles and all this stuff, and it's a good subtle thing.
Yeah, I really, again, I really liked the language that the
Hmm.
characters are using, the interactions. It's anyway, just another note that I think that's a positive.
Yeah, the thing that I noticed is that like most of Mallory's dialogue to Zach it's pure parenting dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, Zach complaining like, I hate rollerblading to school, and what's Mallory's response? Where's your sense of adventure? It's like,
Mhm.
seize the day, enjoy
You can
life.
get your kids to get excited just by, you know, you can tell she's clearly a mom who's
Mhm.
learned how to talk to her kid, motivate.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's solid. But she's also dipped in and out of meeting strangers, hanging out with her best friends, stuff like that. And it's distinct, but still a same person, a good, solid character.
yes, and then as she drops off Zach at school, they have this kind of thing where he can't tell her out loud how much he loves his mom because he'll get bullied for that. So she does the whole finger to the eye, does a heart with her hands, and then point gestures to him. The whole "I love you" there, and then Zach has this thing where he pretends to sneeze and then sends her a quick "I heart you" back type of deal.
And
um,
and
yeah,
as a parent, I can confirm that you definitely do stuff like that, mostly to mess with your kids.
yes.
Tell them you love them in a situation where you know that they can't. But if they do say I love you, you're like, "Oh, they do." But you're also doing it for the fact that you know that they won't,
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
I will say
There's
my second eldest godson, he figured out the code pretty quick because, and this was a story that his dad told me after his first day of high school. His dad, drops him off in the car, and he's walking towards, and then he just, calls out his son's name and says, "Have a great day. I love you." And then everybody just like turns at my godson to hear what he says back, and he's like, "I love you too, Dad." And then um, my buddy was like thrown off by that. He's like, "Oh, I thought he was gonna say stupid or whatever something." And then when when he goes to pick up his son, his son says, "So yeah, I've got a date Friday night." Because he played up the fact that it's cool to love your parents, and it got a bunch of
uh,
girls interested in him, and then he ended up started dating. And I'm
oh,
like,
that's
that's a
that's
smart kid.
hilarious. He's gonna go far.
Yeah.
Knows how to talk to people and knows how to not be ashamed or afraid.
Yeah, like he basically is like he turned an embarrassing moment into his dad accidentally giving him a wingman quote for his kids, and all I could do is be
That's
like, man,
hilarious.
that's I don't know where he picked that up because it wasn't from me, because I always knew how to embarrass him, and I didn't have to do anything other than be like, oh, you got a booger on your ear. How do you get a booger on your ear, man? It's like what? Because he's always self conscious about his appearance, and it was funny.
Oh,
Um,
that's
but
funny.
yeah, like you've got this beautiful moment between Mallory and Zach, and where yeah he's not shy about his feelings towards his mom until he's in public, and then we also get set up that there's the spelling bee going on, and so Mallory's encouraging him to practice and maybe get into the finals, and gives him a really good piece of lesson, like people who live in fear are only living half a life type of deal. And I thought that was some pretty good advice.
Yeah.
And
It did have a lot of little deep moments.
and then we also find out that one of the reasons that Zach is so apprehensive is because her son Zach is getting bullied by a guy named Mike Bernardi, who
Who's big.
we find out that he is really big for his age. He's like literally twice the size of Zach. And I remember seeing those situations at school.
Oh yeah.
Where you see this one kid and you're like, why are your parents feeding you growth hormones?
How many grades did you get held
Did you
back?
get held back any grades? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always that one kid where they just hit a growth spurt before everybody else.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, you're in the second grade, and one of your good friends has just hit the height of 5'8". He is taller than all the teachers now.
Oh yeah.
There's more years away from being in high school than they were from being in kindergarten. You always have a couple of those guys. And then you have the reverse. You have some people that they don't grow any height until like the last year of high school, and then they all suddenly shoot up 2-3 feet.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
And Zach and Mike are probably both examples of that perfectly.
yes. Oh, 100%. So we then find out, like, okay, so Mallory, she drops her kid off at school, and she continues to rollerblade, and she ends up, she goes to her work. She works in a basic office, it's just we don't know exactly what it is that she's working at, but as she gets there, we cut to Foster's apartment. He lives in an open concept loft, and he's just finished a date with some woman named Natasha, who, very beautiful, very young, but doesn't consume any food unless it's between 2 and 6 p.m. So yeah, kind of a vacuous person.
That was one of the things I actually liked. They allowed a superficial situation be superficial.
Mm-hmm.
Let somebody be hot. Let it be about a hookup. Let it be about selfishness or don't care, and not shy away from it of like makes one person look good or one person look bad. In this situation, it's not necessarily, Natasha's one of those characters that she's used to make the character establish that he lives a superficial life.
Yeah.
But then rather than make him the bad guy so that she can be the good guy, she's not a character. She's superficial. I loved her line that was like, it wouldn't be fair if I don't want to do this again because it wouldn't be fair to the guy I started dating. And
Yeah.
I like that because it set up how shallow both of them are.
It does, and it shows that she is worse than him because he is
Yeah.
he is single and she's not.
Yes.
Like, she just started dating a guy and she decided to go to bed with some random dude that she met that night. And what's funny
Just
is
for
like
fun.
him being polite to her is also the wrong move, because he's like, you know what, maybe I'll get you an Uber. And she's like, I feel that's more getting an Uber is a boyfriend thing. She's like, yep, right, can't argue with that.
And then she's a little bit thrown by how detached he is, and it's almost making her like appealing probably to her insecure side.
Yeah.
And it was a good little thing because she's a character who served her purpose, and too many times in shows recently we got to establish Foster's shallow,
Mm-hmm.
kind of overdo it by the people he interacts with. They have to be good by nature. No, they both are what they are. There's not good or bad. It's just shallow.
It
And,
is.
and I liked how they leaned into that.
I like how it leads into it. And I like how this situation kind of points to why Foster was more interested in Mallory.
Yeah.
Because the conversation that he has with Natasha, he is making fun of her subtly throughout this entire time because he completely understands who she is, and
Yeah.
he's very clearly not happy with himself. Because the next
Yes.
thing is like he goes straight to a cafe and he is ordering a whiskey. Like it's still
Yep.
morning. And the server checks in on him and he's comments like, "Oh, it just relieves anxiety," and he's just like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And the server just kind of just walks away. And as he's there sipping away in his whiskey, Mallory comes by on her rollerblades and ends up tripping and falls hard on the ground. And Foster hurries over to help her up and is surprised to see her. And, kind of says, "Hey, it's me, Foster, Australian for beer, remember?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." And he makes a clever joke, one that I thought I haven't heard before, which he asks her, "Does ice follow you around?" She's like, "Ice?" And he's like, "Yeah, you seem to fall a lot. You just biffed really hard." Like, because again, she fell into him. That's how they met. And then the next time he
Yeah.
sees her, she falls on the ground again. And he's wondering, like, you're going to need those injuries tended, and ice is your first step. And of course, Mallory's trying to, politely, no, not so politely, but basically say, Thanks for helping me up, but I've got to go to work." And Foster's trying to, seduce her to joining him for breakfast. And when she says no, he's like, "Well, how about dinner after work?" And
She
she has
says,
this,
"That's good. I suggest that." I
yeah,
liked
she's
that
does a
line
good one. Like,
too.
"I suggest you do that." Yeah, that's eating is helpful.
Yeah.
And of course, like as she's skating away, or trying to skate away, Foster's running up next to her. She's asking like, "Why are you following me?" And he's like, "I'm spotting you." You know? um, and so he's trying to like guess what she does, and he misses each time. Like, "You're in marketing, no advertising. Oh no, son of a gun." Okay, and she manages to kind of get away into the office building. But he says, "Hey, how about I meet you here for dinner at 6 p.m." And she just says, like, "You're charming. You got a lot going for you, and I'm sure the 24-year-olds at the bar really eat it up. But what I was doing when I was 24, she was giving birth to her kid, and he's 9 now." And she's literally saying this to try and see if that'll scare him off.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so
That,
we
that plays into what we think
might be the issue. Yeah,
might be the issue. Really good.
it does. And we don't yet know exactly what Mallory does yet, but she goes to her office. She immediately gets on the phone and she calls up her doctor and says, "Hey, could you fit me in today? I had a bad fall." And doctor says, "Sure." So we then cut to the doctor's office. And yeah, that's where we find out that Mallory has a very rare disease called Friedreich ataxia. And it's a tricky disease that's degenerative to muscles, um, and usually you discover this when you're a teenager, and then you have to take some experimental medication in order to kind of go on, and you need like there's some sort of thing in the genes. I don't know the details, but the script does share a little bit of it, where both parents cannot have it, but they can have one part of the genetic marker where if both of them combine, the kid's going to have it. And
Oh, yeah, and that's kind of what makes it rare.
that's what makes it rare. And and yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of her situation. But on top of that, one of her parents also had it, and then the other parent didn't have it but had the genetic marker for it. So yeah, she's worried. um, because most people don't actually make it past their 30s when they're diagnosed with this, and we find that Mallory, she's on a trial program, and the medication is doing what it's supposed to be doing for now, but it's still a day by day type of situation. And what's funny is that her doctor is saying, like, maybe you should focus on simpler movements, stuff that's less stressful on your heart, and get rid of the rollerblading. And Mallory's like, never, because she likes it. And then the doctor says, then I'll be seeing you again very, very soon. And that's kind of, hits Mallory pretty hard. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah,
You know
it's,
what
yeah, go ahead.
could I wanted to point out something. One of the things I really liked about everything we've read so far was it kind of reminded me back when what she does for a living doesn't matter to the story.
Right.
And yet you didn't feel like you were missing anything. But and to be honest with you, this disease could be real or made up or a little bit in between. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't really matter. It still worked. It still everything was kind of reminded me of the way things kind of used to be. You'd get so lost into the story, it didn't really matter
Right.
where she worked, what the interaction, whether that was a real thing. You didn't feel the urge to go stop the movie and Google it, because the character is the the characters and the interaction. It's very well paced and flowing right into the story. Anyway, maybe it falls apart,
Not, I don't think it falls apart at
but
this
as of
point.
right there, it's hitting all the beats
Yeah.
that kind of reminded me of how the way I guess romantic comedies used to be and movies in general.
Yeah, like you find, well, I mean, the cliche part of it is that the woman always has some sort of office job.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
at a desk or something.
But you know what? They kind of leaned into what they're doing and why they're doing it. And sometimes part of their character development was how they interacted with someone at the office.
Right.
And all that felt like throwaway, where it didn't really matter.
No.
Because the real interaction is her son, her friends, this foster, her doctor.
And we get a
Nothing.
sense of her schedule too. It's not like the typical sitcom
Yeah,
where they're always at home or they're always at the coffee shop and they're never at work. It's like, nope, we see exactly what her schedule is like.
yeah.
We also get a taste of what Foster's schedule is like, because while he's waiting to go pick up Mallory, even though she's hoping he's not going to be there, he ends up going down to the driving range and just striking some golf balls. But he's doing it in like a lot of anger. Like there's something going on, and then his phone kind of vibrates a few times. He checks it. He's on those dating websites, like this one is Hinge, and he's got all these matches, and he just ignores them and pockets his phone, and then goes back to shooting, striking at the balls, uh, until we come to Mallory's office building at night. And as she's exiting the building wearing her rollerblades again, Foster's there holding flowers. And, she's, of course, challenging him, like, why are you here? He's like, well, one dinner, and then if you don't like me, you'll never see me, hear me, or smell me ever again. And and he's making a case. And so she basically says, okay, but it's got to be a short date because I've got stuff to do. And what they end up doing is it's a walking date, going through a couple of neighborhoods, trying pizza, ice cream. They're having their conversations, and of course he's doing everything to kind of break through her shields, and she's doing everything she can to deflect it, and it's not too. It's not really working because Foster has decided like he's not going to play the games. He's just going to say like, I love how honest you are. I like that I can be honest with you, because you've already established that you don't care. You already established an opinion about me that you don't care what I say because you don't think it's going to change your opinion of me. So that allows me to be very honest with you.
Yep.
And and so yeah, like they do pizza, kebabs, and ice cream, going through a couple of small places out in the village, and it's like a 90-minute date. And then Foster has this great little thing when they're at University Place, and he's talking about like he only knew this village growing up, and he thought it was amazing, and looking back on it, it was still amazing. And then he points to a place. He says, that's where my favorite burrito place was. Now it's a Bank of America. The bar I'd sneak into as a teenager was on 14th and 7th. Now it's a Bank of America. We lived above a deli, and they knew what I was going to order before I opened my mouth. Now it's and then Mallory interrupts, a Bank of America? And he says, Chipotle.
Same thing.
And then, yeah, she's like, so close. basically the
Yeah.
same. And that
Yeah.
breaks through her shell. And
Yeah.
as they're in Union Square Park and they're coming towards the end of the date, Mallory's like, "So you'll never get married?" And Foster says, "Nope." And we get into this conversation. It's like, you don't think people can spend a happy life with someone? And he's like, I'm sure it happens, but even the people I know who are happily married are completely miserable. For example, what happened between you and your kid's dad? And Mallory's like, oh, I don't think we're going to get into that right now. He's like, I'm just saying, have as much fun as you can. Why not have as much fun as you
Yeah.
can and not worry about the whole till death do us part stuff? And of course, she finishes her snack and says, "Hey, that's the end of the date. I gotta go, and we're not going into overtime here." and she's forthright with him. She's like, "Listen, you're really charming, and 5 years ago, I would have gone to bed with you, but that's not where I am anymore." She doesn't want to, she doesn't know about the whole growing old together thing. Talks about it being a fairy tale with good and bad and stuff, but she wants something like that real for herself. And she kind of insults Foster and says, "I hope you don't take that the wrong way." And Foster's response is, "I'm taking it like a dagger to the heart. What is that the wrong way?" And of course she leaves and says, "Thanks for not murdering me." And this, of course, goes into like Foster and one of his friends who's pretty much calling out like, yeah, if your behavior is constantly having her bring up the fact that she thinks you're going to murder her, maybe you shouldn't be behaving that way. Like, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And on Mallory's side of things, when she gets home into her apartment, of course, Chloe is watching Zach, and there's a fire forming on the stove. and Chloe's like, no, we're good. I've got it. I got a bucket of water, filling up to douse it. Of course, Mallory just decides to go grab the fire extinguisher, puts out the flames, disconnects the smoke alarm. And you have that comedic beat where Chloe just stares at her friend Mallory and says, "So, how was your night?" Good comedic beat, kind of.
It does, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it comes. We come back to like they're going. Mallory and Zach are saying their goodbyes at school, and Mallory's trying to give some parental advice, saying like, if this Bernardi messes with you today, what's the plan? And Zach says, punch him in the throat. And she's like, well, no, okay, first, talk to him, stern, not scared. If that doesn't work, talk to a teacher. And if that doesn't work, and Zach's like, throat. And she's like, sure, stick up for yourself, but. And then he's like, I have dreams about murdering him. And she's like, keep that between us. Have a good day. Can I have a hug? Good banter and stuff. And also.
And Zach's
advice.
like, that's not possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they do their I Heart thing again. Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
yeah, no, the banter is really good. Yeah.
Yeah, the banter is pretty good. And we get a little bit of Zach where he's getting, bullied and essentially beaten up by Bernardi. And the other part too is Zach is because he's practicing for the spelling bee, he's spelling out some of the words he's saying. So he spells out enfranchise. And Bernardi's like, why are you spelling that? Don't be a spaz, so to speak. And of course the teacher, as all teachers do, they don't know what's going on. They're just like, both you guys, cut it out. Get back inside. I'm completely ignoring the fact that the guy twice the size of the other guy is literally bearing a fist and striking it at the little kid.
Yep.
Because that's how you know you're a teacher. If you can ignore that, you can educate children.
Yeah, that is, my wife's a teacher, and I can relate. Sometimes you're like, well, I have to act like the whole school's not burning down.
Yeah, when it is.
But sometimes it feels like it is.
Exactly. And so then we actually find out what Mallory does. She's actually an insurance adjuster or insurance salesperson of sorts. Her and Chloe, they work together. They're best friends. And then, of course, Mallory is complaining to Chloe, like, the guy found my office. I think he actually came to murder me. Because then, after like a quick moment, Foster's there. And he he's trying to woo Mallory, and of course Chloe is whispering to Mallory. She's like, "Listen, girl, every time you tell a guy about your disease, they bail. So why not just have fun with someone who, is showing this much interest in you?"
Yeah.
And Mallory's having a hard time trying to come to terms with that. So she decides, okay, I'll entertain this guy, but it's not going to go anywhere. And so Foster's like, okay, I should probably get some insurance. And it goes back and forth, like, what do you have? What do you need? And he starts life insurance. And she's like, okay, well, who's your next of kin? Who's your dependent? Who's your heir? And he's like, cousin, I guess. and he's just trying to be like, the good stuff, out there. She's saying like, yep, the estimated premium is like $1,400 per month. He's like, wow, that's super expensive. Perfect. I'll start putting this together. I'll just need your ID, hoping that'll just drive him off. And oddly enough, it doesn't. And so Foster says, listen, I can't get you out of my head. There's a gravitational force yanking me towards you. And I mean that in the least creepy way possible. And he says, you pick the place. I'll take you anywhere. Do anything you want. And this is where Mallory gets like that mischievous grin. She's like, anything I want. He's like, anything. And we cut to a Cessna airplane in the middle of the air. And Mallory is wanting to go skydiving. And I will say, that's a power play move.
Yeah.
And
yes, it is.
It's a good one because Foster he's gotten this far and he does not want to go skydiving, and he is still making the argument like I meant like a fancy restaurant or something. And Mallory's response is, I like seeing how people react to crazy situations. You can take me to a fancy restaurant after we jump out of this plane. And of course Foster's like, you can jump out. I'll land with the plane and the pilot. I think that's a safer way. And we find how kind of different they are, where Mallory's a little bit more, given her limited time because of her disease, she's a little bit more ambitious to do some crazier things. And Foster is still more reserved, which is kind of fascinating because he was very ambitious and eager to make himself present in front of Mallory. And the moment she's doing something that's actually kind of crazy, Foster's like, oh, I am just going to stay on the plane.
and he's not ashamed of it. He's just,
no,
this is what I want to do.
I'll say at my age, I'm not going skydiving.
I like to play a game. What's the worst that would happen?
Right. So she and the instructor, they leap out of the plane. I appreciated the accuracy for that because, yes, you don't get to leap out of a plane skydiving for the first time without someone strapped to you with a couple of parachutes. Well, more than a couple of parachutes on them.
Another reason that I don't really want to go, because that would be an embarrassing way to die.
Yeah. It's like
with a guy strapped to my back.
Guy strapped to your back. I would say if that were my situation and none of the shoots went, I am doing what I can to roll myself so that my back is facing the ground, so I've got him making my fall. I'm sorry, I paid for this.
I'm paying away you. Yeah, what are you doing? I need a pillow.
It's like, you're gonna break my fall. It's not gonna
I didn't
help.
pack the
No,
chute.
but I'll feel a lot better. You'll be dead. I don't care.
Second, you go first. You pack the chute.
Yeah. Of course, like Mallory had a blast. She lands safely. Foster shows up, in a van with the pilot and the pickup team, and she's super excited. She feels like her blood's gonna jump out of her skin, which Foster makes a joke. I don't think that's a good feeling to have. Blood should stay, well within the body.
Yeah.
And out of like the adrenaline rush and the excitement, she grabs Foster and then kisses him passionately, and of course he's happy to receive. And then she says, like, don't take it like I like you or anything. It's just I have all this energy and I had to kiss someone and you're here. So you're the only option available.
He's like,
and I like that readjustment that she did. She's like, yeah, my shields went down and I did something I shouldn't have done, and now I'm just going to try and set you back up. But then yeah, like they're like, okay, that's great, let's go eat. And this is it's like so this is the scene that I think could have been a bit stronger because up until this point, like we've crossed the threshold of the normal interest that Foster could have for Mallory to, okay, why is he going this far now, right? So what
Yeah.
is it? And we also have this dramatic, well, we have this dramatic irony on like she's got this disease that she hasn't told him about. He knows about her kids, so and he's still around, so that's something. But this next scene is like they're at Peter Luger's diner, and she is feasting on a big old bloody steak. Which, ladies out there, eating a full meal in front of your guy is pretty attractive. It's just like, as long as it's not you're not wolfing it down
Oh yeah.
disgustingly. Like if you can shotgun a steak, that's not so attractive. But just to eat a full meal,
Just eating like you're comfortable.
yeah.
Because a guy going, "Why aren't you eating?" is not going to be fun. It's uncomfortable. You're like, "Okay, what's wrong? What did I do? Is it me?"
Is it me? Oh,
You
you're just
know.
ordering a salad, so you want to get and go? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that part was not too. Yeah, those parts are weird. But yeah, but Mallory, she is digging into a steak, and Foster's comment is like, "You really don't care what anyone thinks about you, huh?" And she's like, "What do I look like a pig?" He's like, "No, you're eating like food properly."
And everybody he's dated is, the last date we knew of, she wouldn't eat until 2 or 6.
Yeah,
So she was the one ordering the salad or not eating at all.
and what's funny is like Mallory calls him out for like squirming a little bit. And she's like, "Again, I have to remind you, if I cared what you thought of me."
Yeah.
This would have some meaning. And he's like, "Oh, well, that's very refreshing." Um, and so she basically says, "Okay, what do you do for work?" Like she finally does the actual date question. What do you do? Um, I'll entertain this idea. He's like, "Oh, I created and sold a knockoff app." And she's like, "I don't. You gotta explain." He's like, "Well, he has family in the Czech Republic, and he developed an app there, which is a knockoff of Amazon. And he did this over a decade ago, and he makes a joke. Is like, well, she asks like, "How old are you?" He's like, 57. Why? Do I look younger? I knew the Botox was working. Good charming stuff. And he basically find out that yeah, he skipped some years in school, and his knockoff app did so well that Amazon bought him out for about $14.5 million. So this guy is pretty much set for life.
Yeah.
Um, and so she's like, "Well, what do you do?" He's like, "Well, I golf. Sometimes he sings," and you know that piques her interest. He's like, "Not publicly or anything," and he's like, "I tried to minimize my embarrassment." Um, and then she calls him out for like doing single guy things, trying to get through as many women as possible, and he's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't put it that way, but yeah, kinda." And then this is where he drops like a truth bomb, and that's like says, "I was married once, didn't work out. She ended it," and we find out that her name was Destiny and that he loved her. And of course, Mallory's like, "Wait, her name was actually Destiny, or she was your Destiny?" He's like, "Because that sounds like a stripper name." And he's like, "Nope, her name was Destiny. Yeah, it felt like it was my destiny, and her parents were hippies, and she was a hippie." and and then Mallory kind of breaks it as well to her. Is like, "I should tell you something too. I usually wait a little longer until I tell guys this, but I don't want to string you on." And he's like, "Oh darn, you're married, aren't you? You're still with your kid's dad. This is an affair. I'm mid affair, aren't like jokes and going in there talking about like what
Yeah.
this could be." And she's about to kind of say, what it is, and she's like, "I don't like to get physical till later into the relationship." And Foster's response is, "Oh, okay, yeah, we can wait as long as you want. No pressure." That means no pressure or no
Yeah.
pressure.
I don't know why I just said that. I
Yeah,
like that. I like that.
he gets
Still uncomfortable,
yeah,
you
he's a
know.
little uncomfortable, but he gets kind of put into a point position where she's like saying like, "Yeah, you're not getting any anytime soon.
You know what? They both don't kind of are going, hey, we're relieved. We're going to be honest with each other.
Hmm.
They kind of act like they don't really care what the other person thinks as far as like they're not putting forward a front, but yet you can still see little glimpses of nervousness or I
Yes,
do care.
and
You know,
and
and I really liked how that keeps dipping in and out.
and this was the thing that like the scene is fine on itself, but I
Right.
needed, for me, I needed that moment where I could completely understand why Foster was enamored with Mallory. And it's not just the
Yes.
honesty stuff that they brought up. There has to have been something extra. Like it's not just the honesty, the eating, actual meals. These all feel like too small of something for him
Yes.
to do. It almost feels like there should have been a point where Foster says, I've been on so many dates with so many women, and none of them have talked to me as much as you have. And then Mallory could be like, well, I've been saying horrible things to you. And he's like, that's what makes it more interesting. Just something to show like the contrast, because we already saw the visual contrast, like with him and that Natasha or Natalia or whatever her name was. And
Yeah.
then we see him with Mallory, and it still feels surface level, but I just wanted that something more where when she would call him out for like dating the girls that he dated, he should basically say, I wouldn't call them dates because I don't get to know them. And getting to know you and wanting to know you is way more exciting than, all the women that he's ever had. Like he's got it. We have to see something empathetic and curious uh, for him that says like this is something he's going to pursue regardless of the obstacles. And he's going to be creative in ways to make sure that he's able to keep on holding Mallory's attention. And so this is so he walks her to her home, and she's like, "Okay, this is the end of the date. You're free to go." He's like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. I guess that's the point." Of course, her kid Zach opens the door, stares at his mom, and then at Foster. And his first words to Foster is a great line, which is, "I can already tell this guy sucks." um,
Yeah.
and he's like, "What's up, man?" And he tries to shake his hand, and of course Zach ignores it. He turns into a high five, which then morphs into a fist bump, and Zach just does not respond to any of it. It's like, okay, and Zach's just like, "See, mom, this guy's lame." Um, you can see that he sucks, right? And Mallory's trying to say, "Easy, Zach, he doesn't suck," and of course Foster says, "Thank you."
Which is funny because it's some of the first compliments.
It's like one of the first compliments that Mallory has actually given to Foster. And the
Yeah.
funny part is that the
She's
entire subtext of their day together has been like, I don't I don't want you around, yet I'm
yeah.
entertaining you to be here.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm trying to drive you away. Now someone's drive agreeing with me and I have to defend you.
yeah, like my son is saying exactly what I'm thinking, and I'm trying to be polite. And of course, like Zach, remarks like, "I think you can do better. We could all do better." And I chuckled at that because I remember
We c-
hearing
yeah.
kids say that in the most embarrassing situations in public. Um,
Yeah.
but then then Foster comes out of nowhere, sees like the Pokemon cards in Zach's hand, and he says, "Okay, Charizard versus Blastoise. Who do you got?" And then Zach gives some sort of tirade about which is better. And Foster salutes him by saying, "Go on, young king. I see you." And this, of course, turns Zach completely around. and and then he's like, "I actually like this guy. He's got that Riz," which I only recently I learned that Riz is an abbreviation for charisma. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, oh, okay, you learned that too.
Nope, I didn't know that until now.
Oh yes, see, it's interesting 4 letters to pick out of that word to abbreviate it. It's like
Yeah. I'm just
um,
actually glad that it's short for
a real word.
a real word. Yeah,
But
it's actually something.
yes, it's not gibberish that then has a later gets a definition.
Yeah.
Um, but then we get to Chloe and Mallory. They're talking about, of course, Foster and how she's only got so much time, and if she should be, doing, having some fun, at least have fun with a guy that's interested in her. We also have this little joke because Mallory and Chloe are doing yoga, and of course, Mallory doesn't like it. She says it smells like vag in here. And Chloe opens her mouth to rebut, but she can't, which is like, okay.
Yeah, I know. I like that. I pictured the meme.
Yeah. And then we find out that, okay, so, Foster, they're going on dates. And so they're at the Knicks game at Madison Square Garden. Foster's got 2 of those 16-ounce beers in his hands. Mallory's not interested in the beer. And we find out that she's the one that called him to go on the date. And she's kind of like, lowering her shields on him, saying, I didn't have the worst time, and I thought I'd give you a real chance, whatever that means. And he's like, okay, that's funny. And of course, when you're at the Knicks games, what does everybody want to do? They want to get on the Jumbotron. So whenever there's like, music playing for between plays, or they're doing their contests, you got to have to get your attention. Of course, this is the scene where like Mallory's like, oh, the Jumbotron's playing. So she gets up and she starts like dancing and making all these moves and stuff. And then, Foster is apprehensive to do the dance. He's a little intimidated and shy by that, but he starts to get up. And as soon as he starts to get up, Mallory's leg just stops working and she is about to fall again. But Foster manages to catch her. He then sweeps her into some sort of really cool move, and then plants one on her. And the Jumbotron picks it up, puts them on the screen, and of course everybody's cheering and thinking like, "Oh, what a romantic kiss and everything." And yeah, it's funny because he's like, "Are you okay? Because you really lost your balance there," and that's the disease kind of getting at her, and she plays it off as a joke, a great joke, like I'm as graceful as a baby giraffe. So I mean that's a pretty powerful description right there. For anyone that's ever watched an episode of National Geographic, there's always a birth of a baby giraffe, and you see how they stumble out for a while.
Oh yeah, I don't know how they walk when they're adults, let alone babies. But yeah.
They learn pretty quick.
It's a good visual. Yeah, they have to. Yeah.
I've got friends with newborns, and I'm thinking, man, wouldn't you just love it if within minutes after you had your kid, the kid could actually walk and you didn't have to worry. that was so much about it. Like all the other stuff could still be the same normal, but just the walking part.
Yep. Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah. So we then jump into a montage, and they're going on dates for like weeks, and they're kissing. They're really kind of like embracing everything, but they have not sort of sealed the deal yet. But they have this funny game where they take a look at a person and then they just describe who they are, the exact opposite. So they look at a mafia guy in leather jacket smoking a cigarette, and they're like, yep, he's a licensed family therapist writing a book on the fall of the nuclear family. You see a hipster guy who's like a Jets fan who's got season ticket holder who knows all the stats to all the players. You got a socialite and be like, nope, she's not a socialite with an assistant. She's the manager of the local Starbucks, and that woman following her is her long-lost daughter. These are kind of typical tropes that you see in a couple of romantic comedies. I vividly remember this type of thing from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr. And he's talking about, like, he sees a guy that looks like Indian Joe Pesci, and it's an Indian guy that looks a lot like Joe Pesci. So yeah, that sparked some memories there. But this was an interesting way to show a bit more character. First of all, like Foster has an imagination, and he's kind of like a big kid, but he's also got a heart to him, which because he's entertaining a lot of these crazy date scenarios for Mallory. And I'm wondering, in the back of my mind, is she doing this because she knows this guy has a ton of money and can afford to do all these things right away? Where most reasonable people are like, oh, you want to go skiing in the Poconos, huh? Okay, well, we have to wait for the weather. And then we got to plan
the weekend and
weekend
round work.
Make sure it's all going to work, yeah. Um, and then after several dates, we finally go back to Foster's loft, and he brings her inside. Because it's open concept, he makes it jokes like, "I'd give you the tour, but you're seeing it all," as you do with lofts. And this is this is their moment. They make love. It's a wonderful night. The following morning, Mallory, she gets up. She wants to go freshen up in the bathroom, and as she's there, her body kind of stiffens up, and she drops and hits her head on the floor. And Foster hears this, rushes over to her, freaks out, calls the police. We get this first sense of actual real connection because Mallory's being loaded up into the ambulance, and of course the paramedic is asking if Foster's family, and he's like, "What?" And family is only allowed in here, and he's like, "Yes, I'm family, sorry," and he just jumps in, and he sticks with her the entire ride and night. And when she comes to, Mallory's first question is for Zach, and Foster says, "I got Damon watching him. I told the kid that you're fine and that you'll had a little spill and you'll be home soon." And this is where Mallory kind of shares what's going on. She says, "I have this disease. I started having some weaknesses in college, and it's rare, and you don't get to live too long, and you get this." And Mallory's kind of treating the situation as if, okay, yeah, so I'm saying this, and now Foster is going to completely leave. And instead, he's like, "No, I'm here for you. I'm there." And when Foster asks about Zach, Mallory says, "No, fortunately, his deadbeat dad did not have, spared him from this hereditary disease. That's the only good thing about him." And Foster's trying to be really encouraging, and so we find out that regardless of the disease, Foster's still going to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that, because of this, Foster's getting more of an attachment to Mallory, and she's also getting, he's also kind of getting a good friendship and kind of becoming a father figure to Zach. And because Mallory isn't able to take Zach to school because she's still recovering from her fall, Foster decides to walk him to school. And this is where these two have their first kind of, we see their first kind of chat. And that's where Zach's talking about I like not having to rollerblade to school, but I also kind of missed it. and he then spells out the word bizarre. And Foster asks, why are you spelling that word? It's it's something I do. It's you do that at school? Yes. He's like, yeah, don't do that. He's like, you think it bothers people? Just a hunch, but 100% yes.
I was laughing through this. I could picture Paul Rudd.
Yeah. Paul Rudd.
That's the only actor that popped into my head for this part. But yeah, that was a bunch of good lines.
Yeah, and then Foster has this good kind of response where it's not bizarre to not like rollerblading, but also miss doing it with your mom because some things in life can be weird. Zach then gives him a pop quiz. Who has the opposite Pokedex number as Pikachu? And Foster's like, "What? That was, you call that a segue? What, are you testing me?" And of course Zach's like, "Yeah, I'm testing you. That's why I said pop quiz." He's like, "Okay." Because here's the funny part, Zach says, "Because you clearly want to freak up my mom." Freak, and then Foster's like, "Freak up?" He's like, "I can imagine a guy learning a few things about Pokemon to get in good with a lady's Pokemon obsessed kids. So I got to be sure." And what's funny is as Foster's challenging this, Zach's calling him out. It's like, "You're stalling, aren't you?" He's like, "No." And then he answers "I guess it's Meowth." I think I'm saying that right, Meowth.
Yeah, Meowth.
Is what you're looking for. And he's like, "Okay, you passed." And
for now.
And then of course, he's walking to school. Foster's like, "Well, bye, go learn stuff." And then as he's watching Zach go into school, Mike Bernardi sides up to Zach, bumping into him, and is clearly messing with him as they're heading to school. And so Foster decides he's going to slip through the gate. Just keep an eye out. And then what happens is, Bernardi just starts wailing on the kid. and then Zach tries to like punch Bernardi in the throat, misses, hits the collarbone, so it doesn't really do much. And of course, Foster's yells at Bernardi. It's like, what are you doing? And Bernardi's like, who are you, old man? He's like, I'm not old. I'm in my 30s, early 30s. It's irrelevant. What makes you think you can treat Zach like this? He's like Charles Darwin, talking about like, the strongest get to mess with whoever's weaker. And then,
Yeah,
of
we just
course,
learned out who he is. I thought that
yeah,
was
and
funny.
then Bernardi tries to push Foster, but Foster just kind of like gently shoves him back. And of course, Bernardi falls and immediately starts crying. And Foster is definitely in the, oh no, this is not right. And of course, the principal shows up asking who he is. And now Foster's in the principal office. And he's basically explaining the details. Like, so you're not at all related to Zachary? He's like, not technically. And he's like, so I'm just gonna have to tell you, you can never step at this school property again. He's like, well, I was just trying to, you pushed a child. He slipped. I nudged him. It's a nothing thing. And the the principal makes the case like I could call the authorities, but he then also reveals I'm not going to do that because it was my mistake for not being attentive enough to prevent you from coming onto the property in the first place. Like, you somehow got in, that's a fault on me. So we're going to call it even. I'm not going to you're not going to come back here again. And I'm going to make sure that Zach doesn't get bullied. And Foster's like, okay, yep, that's fine. The funny joke is like, yeah, Foster says, sure, no problem. I don't even really like kids. And the principal's like, that is abundantly clear. And we know that's not the case because he's spending time with Zach. But
But I like the interaction because it's like he can't defend what he did. The
no,
principal is also in a little bit of a, how did you get there? I should have stopped that. I kind of liked their interaction because it kind of was honest for the moment because they both probably wanted it to end, but also kind of had to get through the conversation. I thought that was funny.
yeah. And then, of course, where does Foster go? Well, he goes to a pub. And he gets a phone call, and it's from Mallory, and she's like, where are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm at this pub. She's like, stay there. I'm coming to see you. And Mallory shows up. She's got a cane right now to help with her leg. And she, of course, immediately says, why am I getting a call from Zach's school telling me a man I'm associated with named Foster beat up a child? He's like, I didn't beat him up. And she's like, you can't fight for Zach. We need to give him the tools and let him succeed or fail on his own. And, of course, he's like, I have no clue how to raise a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't sign up for this part. And, of course, Mallory's like, oh, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. Honesty came faster than expected. And of course, we kind of lay out the details. Like, listen, I'm very much interested in you. I like the kid. I didn't know that I was in the running to raise him. And of course, Mallory calls him out for something she just realized. Like, I didn't ever realize how much you drink until I saw it at 10:30 in the morning. It's like, I drink when I'm stressed. And
She's like, thankfully, life isn't stressful.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And, this is their fight, the mid-act turning point. And, of course, Mallory's kind of like, I'm sorry for dropping this bomb on you. And then she turns to leave. And so, Mallory's trying to spend some time with Zach. They go to the El Dorado bumpy cars on Coney Island. And they have their own little day. And Mallory and Zach kind of are sitting on a place called Their Bench, and it's off the Hudson River. And Zach's talking about, like, maybe we can play the lottery and win the jackpot. And she's like, well, what do we do if we run? It's like, you quit your job, I'd quit school, do whatever you want all the time. She's like, you don't think you need to continue your education? She's like, I feel like I've learned everything I need to know. Yeah, you can get rid of the cane, you can get a fancy motorized wheelchair, it'll be great. And this part here is where Mallory kind of skirts around the idea that she might need the cane for a while, and until she fully heals up. And this is where, like, we find out that Zach he won the spelling bee, and now he has to compete in the citywide competition, and he doesn't know if he wants to do that because he's afraid of crowds. And again, you get that repeated advice. Like she's like, you only live half a life if you live it scared, which is pretty insightful.
Yeah.
And we then cut to we can cut to Foster, who he's at a bar and he's talking to the bartender for a bit, and then this woman named Kayla approaches him, and they're chatting, and of course we find out that she's an influencer, and she's like, I started doing workout videos and nobody really watched until I put the camera behind me while I'm doing the Stairmaster, and everybody's just looking at my butt. And Foster is completely like disinterested, but he's asking questions just to satiate curiosity. And then you find out that she's like, oh yeah, I'm an OnlyFans girl. It's like, oh, okay. And she's like, yeah, I got about 10,000 subs, $15 a month each. It's like, wow, you make 150,000 a month. She's like, yeah. And then of course she talks about the stuff that she does. One part is like Star Wars with lightsabers, and Foster's like, oh right, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And now I'm like, I don't want to know. um, and then she asks, hey, do you want to do a video with me? And he's like, no, I'm gonna say no to that. She's like, okay, it's cool, glad. I'm gonna be honest, I only came here because I thought you'd be good for a video, but now I'm bored. And she walks away. He's like, I completely understand. And as she's leaving, she turns around and says, don't forget to subscribe.
I loved that line.
Yeah, that
Because he's pausing, the writer says maybe she's going to impart a final piece of wisdom. Another character that's a character that comes along
mm-hmm.
doesn't behave in a way that behaves in the way the character needs to behave, instead of, establishing something else, some other message. It's that this is a shallow character, only interested in one thing, and just stays through it. And but that moment to allow Foster to go back into his old life, and he realizes he doesn't want to, and it serves both purposes so well. But it's an entertaining just interaction. If you saw that interaction in the trailer, you wouldn't know what it means to Foster in the story, but it would be entertaining.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it shows that Foster, when presented with a sure thing opportunity, it's not about it being a sure thing. He's looking for something more.
Yeah.
And and he's willing to like turn down, what something like a lot of guys, probably more so Kayla's age, like in their 20s, would have a hard time doing. And now we start to get a bit more of like Foster's life. So we meet him with his friend Claudio, and he's pretty much saying like, I think about her all the time. And he's contemplating, he's like, I mean, maybe it's too complicated. I can't take care of a kid. I am a kid. And of course his friend's like, that is very true. And they're doing this while they're playing a hockey game, and clearly one of the other players is like telling him like, stop talking and start playing the game. And of course Foster's worried about her disease, and if it gets really bad, and can he emotionally handle that? And Claudio just kind of tells him like, get out of your head, man. What if this? What if that? You're, million what ifs. Do you love this girl? That trumps all. Be with her. Be there for her. Fight for it. And, the fact that you didn't hook up with that lightsaber girl is a big sign. And of course, Foster tries to make the point of like, wait a minute, I thought you said you were miserable with with your family. And he's like, I am miserable, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. and it's like, okay. And that's the weird rationality of committed relationships. Like, there's so much good over there, but the responsibility is what can make you feel like maybe it's miserable. But once you complete, the short-term responsible tasks of the day, all you got is the joy surrounding you of that life, that family, that future. It's a very peculiar emotional dichotomy.
It's hard, but worth it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we've got, Zach, he goes back to school, and then the principal says, I had a talk with, the bully and his parents, and he's not going to mess with you anymore. And Zach's like, oh yeah, that'll work wonders.
I know I like that line too. It's like,
and
oh
and
yeah.
and then
Everybody's
what
like, well,
happens
that's gonna
next?
make it worse.
Yeah, it's like you just basically threw gasoline on the fire there.
Yep.
And that's very true because what happens later, Bernardi comes up and says this Friday after school he's gonna murder him,
And he spells it out.
and he spells it out for him. Um, and so Foster shows up at Mallory's office, and she he's got flowers in hand. She's mocking him for it. He's like, I've decided to quit drinking, and you're like, just take. I'm tapering, gonna quit. Spoken like a true alcoholic. Like I started the steps. um, and he says I'm going to do whatever I can to show you I care about you and that I'm a good, reliable person. And what's funny is she's like, did you get these at the grocery store? He's like, I did. And he's like, you really want to be there for me and my kid? He's like, I do. And because I understand if you wanted to bail, like she gives him the out. He's like, I won't bail. I might as well know what I might not always know what to say or do, but he cares about her and he loves her, and she's really scared by that. And he's like, oh, good, you're me too. And then he explains why he split with Destiny, and he basically says, well, he wanted a kid, or finds out that he was told like we wanted kids, but she couldn't get pregnant, and it was very frustrating. And then one day he found birth control pills hidden under a loose floorboard, and he confronted her about it, and she admitted it, and she didn't want kids and didn't know how to tell me, and it was pretty rough. And you kind of feel like, oh, yeah, he got married with one goal in mind, and his wife had a completely different goal and lied to him about it so that they could get married. And and of course, that Mallory understands. Oh, okay, that's why you're squared. Well, it's like you don't have to worry. There's no chance I'll ever have kids with you. And Foster laughs on that, and it kind of broaches the relationship back. But yeah, this kind of gets them sort of back together, but it doesn't really quite end there because we have Zach. We have everybody kind of jump back into the flow of things. So there's a big kind of like family gathering date. So it's Foster, it's Mallory. They somehow get Zach into this bar. You've got Chloe, and you've got Damon, and I guess Damon has a boyfriend with him. Not really brought up after that. And we get the fun joke like, well, how did we get Zach in here? And Mallory says, I told the bouncer I was dying. And it's like, that's dark. And what is Zach doing? He's like, yeah, he's asking the bartender for another Coke and just drinking those sodas. And it's karaoke night, and it's Foster's time to sing. And I actually had to Google this song because I didn't remember it, and I still barely remember it. But apparently, yeah, he sings The Calling, or The Callings, the Wherever You Will Go thing. And this is supposed to be your musical thing where he sings it so well, like it's like he's the original singer or something. And Mallory joins him up on stage, and everybody's like, oh, that's great. And of course, the woman running karaoke says, hey, that deserves shots. And so she tries to hand glasses of shots to Foster and Mallory, and they both kind of like deny the shots. And Zach's like, Foster, that was amazing. And Mom, your voice was dog water. And so we're kind of over that hump here. Like Foster, Mallory, they're starting to be a lot more committed. Foster's even visiting with her at the doctor, where she's getting the administration of the trial drug that she's on, and her doctor's giving her some of those details, and things are going like good. It's like, okay, we got over this really crazy hump. And then all of a sudden, Mallory's not feeling so great, and so Zach ends up having to pick up Foster from school. And this is where Zach asks, hey, Foster, do you know how to fight? He's like, well, fight. If you could hold your own, would you get your butt kicked? And Foster's like, well, it depends of who I was fighting. I boxed a little when I was younger, but that was like years ago. And Zach asks if he can teach him, and he's like, I have to learn by Friday, otherwise I'm going to get murdered. And Foster's like, well, Friday is tomorrow.
That's
Zach's like,
tomorrow.
yeah. So we get this kind of like little scene where in the Washington Square where Foster is trying to teach Zach how to box, and he's basically like, okay, so just do this, like, this is how you throw a punch, this is how you throw a jab. Zach is not emulating the moves properly. Of course, Zach is asking him, like, do you fight a lot? He's like, no time for questions. It's very simple. Start with their jab and do this and this, and they're getting back and forth, and Zach is just not getting it. And so Foster just gets down to Zach's height, or to Bernardi's height. He's like, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to hit me here with the left. You're going to hit me a body shot here with the right. And then, and that's when you bolt upwards with a left hook and then a right cross. And he basically kind of like, walks his hands through that. And they're just doing this over and over and over again. And then they get back home to Mallory's apartment, and she's, popping some pain pills and trying to, get back to normal. And then when Zach and Foster finally show up, Zach says, yeah, Foster was teaching me how to fight. And Mallory's like, what? And he's like, he just wanted to learn a little boxing. And Mallory learns from Zach, like, Bernardi is planning to murder me tomorrow, but now that I know this combo, he doesn't stand a chance. He's like, can you give us a minute, son? And Foster's on the defensive. He's like, I just taught him one thing to help him defend himself. I didn't mean to. And she, like, Mallory just gives him a hug and says, thank you. It's like, thank you for teaching my kid that.
I like the way that scene worked with the first time
Yeah.
that he interacted, because you didn't quite know if she was mad with, because we know she was mad because she wants her son to take care of himself,
Mm-hmm.
and we know why, but it ties it in very well to where she could easily be mad because he taught her to fight, but in all reality, that's all she wants, is because she knows somebody's going to have to take care of him. And it just has that double depth to it.
Yeah, and the other part too is it's a nice switch, because Mallory, as the parent, was like, she says that's the job to teach him how to defend himself and then fail and can't fight his battles for him.
Yeah.
And she's also saying, like, here's the methods you go through because we don't want violence. and
Yeah.
and the thing is, like, you this scene kind of shows that Foster was listening to her, because, well, he didn't broach the idea. He says, hey, I'm going to teach you how to fight. Zach asked him, like, hey, have you ever boxed before? And you see the agency that Zach has learned from his mom to, like, ask for help. And Foster is there to be like, oh, well, the kid asked for something. He needs some advice. And I've made it through life this far, so clearly I know a couple of things. So I'll teach him what he wants. And
you could have viewed it as the right thing to say, nah, I'm not going to, that somebody else needs to teach you to fight, or in a day you can't learn to fight. I mean, he had many ways to go out. He did the nice parenting thing.
yeah, he showed that he could. I mean, the easiest job for a male father figure to do is to teach the kid how to fight.
Yeah.
That's your entryway.
You
into
should
wisdom.
be. You should be play fighting anyway.
Yeah. And so Mallory's like, it's been a tough day so far, so I'm so happy you did this. She asked Foster to stay to dinner. He's like, sure, what are you having? She's like, I haven't figured that out. He's like, I'm gonna pick up some Chinese food. And Mallory's like, Zach hates Chinese food. She's like, oh, that's gonna have to change. And so he's gone down to he hasn't Ubered a Chinese order. He's actually physically gone down to place an order and pick it up. So he goes to the Namwa Tea Parlor in Chinatown. And while he's collecting his order, who walks in but his ex-wife, Destiny. And they exchange a couple of words. It's like copacetic. It's not flirty or anything. But Foster is making a joke that, like, all this food is for him. Like he's basically, he's surprised to see Destiny. She's no longer looking like a hippie. She's got casual designer wear, an expensive haircut, and she says, yeah, she's been back in the city for about a year. She compliments Foster out looking good, asking if he's been working out, and he's like, not remotely. and and she's like, yeah, we should catch up. And he's like, okay, yeah, for sure. And she, Foster's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Destiny says, I still have the same number, and Foster says, okay, me too. They awkwardly kind of hug. They go about their day. Zach ends up loving the Chinese food because it's, if you know your right place, it's everybody loves Chinese food.
Yeah. Yep. And
Um,
sometimes you
yeah.
don't like a food because you just had the bad one
Oh yeah,
or
you have
just
that one
changed.
bad order, and you're like, I got to stay off this for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And the other part too is that you're always still hungry afterwards. So it's like, okay, I had the bad one. Thank gosh I get hungry in about 20 minutes. I'll go get a pizza or a lasagna. um,
It's not like pizza.
yeah,
Bad Chinese food is bad Chinese food.
yeah.
And there's no such thing as bad pizza. Pizza's pizza.
Even
There's
cold,
just
it's
great
still good.
pizza. Yep.
Um, and it's yeah, I think it's we're getting into some more like dicey territory. I will say this is kind of where the pacing kind of flips off a little bit, in the sense
Mhm.
that like we get over the hurdle, we have Foster and Mallory kind of getting a tighter relationship together. We then throw in the new obstacle, which is Destiny. Like the ex-wife comes back. She's not a hippie anymore. She's looking good. She's
And it's clearly affecting him.
yeah, it's clearly affecting him. He's kind of finding himself in a couple of situations where he's distant, and then we cut to, of course, a bunch of fourth graders at the school forming a circle around Zach and Bernardi, and yeah, the two are getting into a fight, and Zach is at the pub, but instead of drinking, he's just having soda. And the bartender's making a joke, is like, you don't want any rum or whiskey in that? And he's like, it's like, I just feel comfortable here. I like the smells. He's like, it smells like piss and puke. He's like, exactly. And then he's entertaining. He's like, maybe a little Jack Daniels wouldn't hurt. And bartender's like, sure, I ain't trying to contribute to a life of alcoholism. And of course, Foster's like, that's literally all you do. So as the bartender's about to pour her some Jack Daniels in there, Foster puts his hand over the drink, so it pours on his hand, and he's like, "Yeah, no, this is I can't, I'm not doing this." And then he ends up glancing at the time, and he sees it's like 3:31. He's like, "Oh boy!" Like he bolts up because he wants to go see if Zach's gonna survive the fight. And yeah, he gets there just in time to see. That Zach, yeah, he held his own for a little bit. He drew first blood against Bernardi, but Bernardi kind of gets him pinned until Zach sees, out of the corner of his eye,
The Foster's
there, like cheering him on to get up there, and yeah, Foster manages to like get a jab in there and a left hook, and they're fighting, and he ends up knocking Bernardi down, and instead of like jumping on Bernardi to pummel him, he just reaches out his hand to help Bernardi back up. And you're like, wow, that's a cool move, kid. And when Foster's walking him back home from school, he's saying like, Zach, that was really big of you to help him up. He's like, yeah, I was also just way too scared to keep fighting.
I know. I actually like that.
Yeah, it's like, this is a great way to end that fight quickly. It's like, I got him down, now I'm going to help him up, and hopefully he's not going to keep punching me.
I wanted to end as badly as he did.
Yeah, and so like they, of course, you get the whole, they come home, Mallory sees her kid, says, what happened? Zach's line, I beat up Bernardi. And Mallory, of course, says like, thank you so much for helping him. I know I shouldn't be condoning violence, but that Bernardi kid sucks. And Mallory, yeah, she's in a state where she's kind of slurring her speech, and she's having difficulty swallowing her food and getting up on her own. And these are possibly some of the side effects from the trial medication that she's on. And but Foster's like, you know what, I believe in you. I think you're gonna beat this. And we kind of cut through another montage where it's Christmas, and they're opening up presents. Foster got Zach some Pokemon cards. and also, and then what's funny is Mallory got Zach boxing classes, so he can learn from a professional how to box.
I
and
like how Zach asked, well, why can't Foster just teach me? But it was
and
clear
yeah,
she just was still thinking, I gotta make sure I've taken care of him. But we just, only we know that. But
yeah,
Zach, it kind of plays into the because Zach, I mean, of course, Zach doesn't know what's going on with his mom, but
not in the details yet, but he suspects there's something going on.
yeah,
And then Mallory's like, well, in case he's busy, you got these classes, and either way, like Foster would take you, and Foster's like, yeah, I'd be happy to, and of course Zach's like, well, you could just take me, mom, and she's like, oh yeah, right, of
hmm
course, and then that's kind of like a gut wrenching moment because we don't know
yeah.
Mallory's fate. Um,
But we're getting
yeah, but
moments
we're getting
that
moments of like,
he's the
is
straight.
are we
Yeah,
going one direction, or are we going the other? It
yeah,
vacillates and it makes you kind of put on edge, and
yeah. Because we've had a lot of things that set up they could have a great, wonderful future and many years, and so we're getting that good balance of
mhm.
uh, hopefulness and also, oh yeah, right back to reality or
And this
potential reality.
exact, and then there's this one little thing like Mallory got this little Pikachu doll that has a recording option in it, and while Zach's asleep, Mallory's in bed, she can't sleep, so she decides to grab the doll and start a recording. Now we don't see what the recording is, but Foster's at his place. He's also awake in bed, and his phone rings, and he answers it, and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's wrong? Okay, calm down. I'll be right there." And you think it's something to do with Mallory, but no, it's another apartment. It's Destiny's apartment, and he's in the washroom, kind of fixing a bathroom leak because she didn't know who to call, with the holiday, and it was her only option was him. And so Foster fixes the leak, and he's making his way out of the apartment when he sees a family photo of Destiny with a little boy who's like 2 years old. And Foster is pretty shocked. He's like, I can't believe he had a kid. And Destiny says, it's the best thing I have in my life, and I hate the fact that he's at his dad's this Christmas. And we find out her story, which is she wasn't ready to have a kid with him, but after the divorce and she met this other guy who was dumb. um, she realized the mistake she made leaving Foster, and she asks him to stay for a drink, and that's where we're gonna cut off for the spoilers here, because what does Foster do? does he stay with Mallory, knowing that her time is possibly limited, or does he ditch her for the woman that he loved, who has now resurfaced back in his life?
It's an interesting way to end it, or at least or set up this part of the script because he does literally have two choices,
Yeah,
and they are opposite but the same,
they're
and
opposite, and one kind of factors
it's a good
into
conflict.
like one factors into the fact that he doesn't want to get married again, but he's happy to be in a relationship with Mallory, and the woman that made him not want to get married again has returned, and now he's at this crossroads, and I feel like for the most part it works, but if Destiny kind of came in earlier when they had that initial falling out about where Foster's like, I didn't know I was going to be a dad, or going to be in the position of having to be a dad,
Yeah.
that might have like upped the stakes a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also see that being a double-edged sword to a degree, because it's like, okay, he says he's not ready to be a dad. He still can't stop thinking about Mallory. Then Destiny comes back into his life, and if he was still kind of pursuing Mallory and then Destiny, you'd feel like, oh, he's playing both fields to see what's going to be the better deal. And that would be bad for his character from the audience perspective, because now we're like, okay, well, now we don't really like Foster so much because we're always going to lean more on Mallory than we are in
Yeah.
Destiny. Destiny's the temptress. We don't want them to go with her. So yeah, it's got some rough parts here, but its characters are really distinct. Some of the jokes are pretty good. Um, the the script really knows how to play into the emotions when you're reading it, because you really do get a sense of good empathy, and you love the relationship between Mallory and Zach. At least I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I did too. And I go back and look at the log line and the synopsis and go, yeah, this show or this script is really about the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you kind of always see it from the perspective of one person, but really it was true to what it was, or at least setting up or told us what the story was going to be about.
Yeah, and I will say it's like it has kind of a, on the surface, has like a very boilerplate type of formula. You know,
Yeah.
guy meets girls in a rut, girl meets guy, fall in love, have their almost breakup moment, salvage the relationship. Uh, red herring gets in the way. Do they? There's the choice. Does the guy go with the new girl that he's been kind of hung up on, or does he stay with, um, the one that we have watched him fall in love with? And the balance of the narrative is it's definitely more heavily on Mallory, but once we get past that mid act turning point, it does shift to be a bit more on Foster, and we're
Mhm.
seeing how Foster kind of gets more involved and has a bit more agency. I do like the scene with him and Zach teaching him how to box, and then kind of getting forming a relationship. I feel
Yeah.
like I would have liked at least one more scene between them before the Destiny stuff comes in, because I'd have liked to see just another kid situation where Foster kind of has to step up.
You could have kind of got rid of the karaoke
Yeah, I think you got to
part
replace the
and
karaoke with
and
that.
or maybe made that be where he's the one who got the kid in or something that they were going to kick the kid out or something, just something, because I actually agree with you with to have another scene or setup where they have an interaction um would have benefited the script better, where that karaoke was just fluff.
Yeah,
It paid off the fact that he could sing.
yeah. It's like, okay, we did a scene that says that this guy's a really good singer.
And it
Um,
got all the characters back together.
it
And
did.
that was really it's kind of like that's what it wanted to do, and so it did that.
Well, like one of the things that I was kind of looking up after I read the script is like, well, what would be a different scene that would give me, like, as a reader, a Zach and Foster moment that also would be endearing, or something that would like show Mallory that um, that Foster does have a certain level of care. And I found out that even to this day, kids still play Pokemon card tournaments. So I think it would have been pretty interesting if we had a scene where instead of the karaoke bar or something of that nature, Foster invites uh, Zach to be his like partner in a Pokemon card game tournament, and that's where you see the two play a game and have fun, and they speak that language that Mallory doesn't understand, but sees, kind of like that father son moment, and
Yeah.
realizes that, yeah, this is where this is where you realize, like, Foster's like, yeah, I don't know how to be a dad, and at the same time Mallory can be like, what you just did is exactly what it is to be a dad.
Mm.
you
Yeah,
know
that would have worked out very well because she'd be out of her element,
yeah,
but only there and enjoying it because two people she loves are enjoying themselves. And you could
exactly.
have it to be they went to go to the karaoke, but couldn't because they couldn't get the kid in the bar. And so he last minute says, well, hey, you know what? There's this. Let's go do that. And, a tragedy turns into a saved,
A save,
a
yeah.
the night saved,
But I
you
mean,
know?
there's a lot of fun things you could do with that. Like, you could have a moment where Foster and Zach aren't saying a word to each other, but they're playing their cards down in such a pattern that it's like, are they communicating telepathically?
Yeah.
Because that shows like, oh, these two actually, like, yeah, we know the kid is super obsessed with Pokemon, but now we realize, oh yeah, Foster, he knows his deal, type of thing.
And and it would easily pay off when the kid said is when he said, "Is this a test?" And he
Yeah,
said, "It is for now. You passed for now." It could be, the final test
exactly.
and pay off that setup or that use that as a setup for it.
Yeah, use it as a setup with the payoff. Yeah, I agree. I think, and that's like the only real critique I have is like I think a scene with a little bit more of Zach and Foster, um, would have hit harder with the relationship because we get we get a couple of moments with him and Mallory that make you go, yeah, okay, I see this being a thing. Again, it still kind of pulls back from, we're getting to that really close interpretation where Foster is only interested in Mallory because the writer needs him to be, and
Hmm.
he's getting right close to there where that's almost being expressed, and it's not quite there, but it's really right up to the
Yeah.
edge, and that's where I'm thinking, yeah, you need a little bit of revision there on that follow up date where it's all kind of laid out as to why he likes her. Like she's insulting him, and he's like, yeah, but you're eating a full meal, you know,
Yeah.
you're the only you're the most interesting conversation I've had with a woman in years. And the other part too is like there's no awkward silence between us. You can keep up with me, I can keep up with you. Your honesty is refreshing, and maybe throwing a joke. I assume you're being honest. You're not just being a jerk. You are a jerk, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
and I think that would add a little bit extra flavor, a little bit of understanding, so that when we when we see that risk of divide, we understand how committed Foster is to making sure that this thing works. So before we get into any of the voting stuff, Jake, do you have any extra stuff you want to address before we move on?
Um, yeah, I was gonna ask. So what decade would you say is strongest for maybe even an oversaturation of romantic comedies? I kind of think of the 90s and the 2000s where you got probably the most romantic comedies
I would say, yeah,
ever.
between maybe 2001 and 2009 was a good 8 years of a lot of romantic comedies.
Okay, so that being said, would this uh would this script be fit in as like would you pat and it's kind of a theoretical, would you look at the script differently uh if you were back in those era and we were seeing that many versus today there
Mm.
is a lacking shortage of it? If you could call that an excessiveness you have right now, at least in the theater, you don't have date movies.
Yeah,
You
like
don't have
it's all on streaming.
romance.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah,
Netflix and chill took over, so that's where you go watch your romantic comedies these days.
yeah.
Um,
And you know what's funny is couples still want to get out.
yep.
It might only be 15 minutes. They might leave a movie early, but couples still date. Not
Yeah.
everything is hanging out.
Well, yeah, like again, there's that comfort environment,
Yeah.
and then there's going out, which, yeah, it's I would say if I did read this in like the aughts, I would say this script feels kind of more in the Pretty Woman era or orbit
Hmm.
of things,
Yeah.
because it's got a charm to it, but it does have like a dark undertone to a degree. Like
Yeah.
there's a seriousness to it as well.
Yep.
It has also a little bit of Sleepless in Seattle, because you got the kid involved, and the other part too is that it's earnest, so it doesn't feel kind of like a gimmick of a story.
Yeah.
Um, Even though you've got the thing with like, oh yeah, the one of the main characters, she's got this, a walk to remember disease kind of thing going on. Like, oh, she's got cancer, and in this case, you got
Mhm.
an actual rare, a really rare one, and you've got some concerns for her, which is she going to be able to live long enough to see her son grow up, and is she going to find someone who can make the years she does have left fantastic, and if she were to pass on early, that someone would be there to help keep her boy safe, and raise him right. And yeah, those are some heavy ideas here, and I think this script kind of handles them pretty well.
As I was reading it, before we talk about the vote and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of things if I would fix anything or change anything. And one of the things that stuck with me was I thought it would be interesting if Foster was a guy who she had dated early on and told, and he said, "No, I'm not interested in that," and they broke up, and was reintroduced in a way like he thought about it, and he's like, just because I'm not interested, maybe I can help you. I understand. This would change the dynamic of when you find out that she has this disease and she's worried about,
Mm-hmm.
someone taking care of her son. And it's just a minor thing. It's not that I would even fix this script. I want to clarify that it's just that's where my mind was going when I thought about it after reading it the first time. And I thought it would be interesting if he fell in love with her because he was trying to help her. He's like, maybe he's like, I can be your wingman, instead
Mm-hmm.
of you struggling through all these guys that are going to waste your time, I can be your friend. I'm interested in you. I may not be interested in what you're asking me because what she's asking, if you look at it from the real world perspective, it's a big ask.
Yeah,
But script is so entertaining and the characters are so entertaining that, it's just it's a movie. And so it does that well. It's not like it needs this, but I think of it and go, if he had rejected it, but was now on her side of helping, and then turned into while he's helping her, he falls in love with her.
yeah.
Changes the dynamic of the entire script, but not that it even needs it. But
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's pretty drastic change, but I could see a potential for that type of story in another area where, just a guy that's a friend wants to
mhm.
help out his friend, doesn't start with a romantic interest, and
Yeah,
then kind of just evolves that way. The tricky part is how do you do that in a natural way where you realize, oh yeah, these two are falling in love, but you also have to frame it in such a way it's like, how could they have not discovered this earlier? Like, what was the obstacle that was preventing it earlier from this being a thing?
he
From
could
this
have been
revelation.
somebody who dated Chloe, or she could have been dating one of his friends, and that's how she got interested. Because I think of like the '90s, the 90s romantic comedies. There's the man she couldn't stand, and it was a friend of the person she was dating or something, or
Mm-hmm.
her girlfriend's boyfriend or ex or something, a reason to be in their life, but then they turn out to be something more. And then they, the entire script and story is them not even realizing that they found what they didn't know they were looking for.
Okay, yeah. So,
But not that it needs it.
oh no, no, but I completely, yeah, I see where you're coming from there. Like, there's that different setup. It does bring for a story that could follow very similar paths, but the instigation is like, oh, these two have more of a history with each other than the whole. You have a couple of moments in the script where you have to establish that history exchange between the characters. By having them already know each other, you kind of skip all that. You can have more real estate for other aspects. Um,
Yeah.
but that would change the dynamic of the script quite greatly. But
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
that being said, over on the Patreon, we got a comment from RS, who writes, I felt the Foster Zach relationships matched better than the Foster and Mallory ones. Zach needed a father figure to help him stand up to bullies, and Zach needed to think of someone other than himself. Foster's drawn to her. He could have easily walked away from the relationship with Mallory. There needed to be something strong to lock him in. I'm not sure where Mallory had room to grow. What she did really want and was actively what did she really want? What was she actively pursuing? So yeah, there's two layers to that RS in this script. So the what she really wanted was she wanted to make sure that if she were to pass early, there'd be someone there to look after her son. Um, and she's decided not to make that the priority. The priority is that someone that she could fall in love with who would be committed to stay with her through those hard times if they were to happen, and then also be there with her son. That seemed to me like her goal. It was easy for it to not to feel so much on the forefront because she meets Foster so early. And even though it does take that one beat from the hero's journey of refusing the call to action, which is Foster keeps approaching her, wanting to go out with her, and she keeps on, pushing him away. um, it does make for the audience to kind of forget that's the goal,
Mhm.
because it once they start dating, you're like, okay, this goal's achieved. Like clearly they're going to be together. We're not getting too many obstacles to threaten that relationship. Um, and the ones that we do get, you know, they come a little late in the story. And the other part too is the screw up. Like Foster going onto school property, trying to defend Zach, has the heart in the right place, the methods not well informed. And I think the argument that causes them to have this temporary split feels a little weak um, at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think there's maybe I think for the script there might be a better way to get to that outcome before they come back together, but still think it needs to be a lot stronger. Higher stakes with regards to the relationship than just, oh yeah, he showed up at school, the principal got upset with him, called me, and I'm like, why are you at my kid's school? It's like, I literally walked your kid to school. I'm in that situation. There's um, and I didn't want, I didn't want your son to get bullied. And it almost seems like there's more room to play there for him kind of committing more to the relationship than the separation. It felt the whole idea is like, I don't know how to raise kids. That works out well. I like that line because it's an honest line, it's a fair line, but that line also feels like a setup to be like, um, you may not know how to raise kids, but you understand them enough to know when to step up and do something right. How you did that is the dumb part. Like,
Yeah.
you did the kid part of how to do something right, and you need to learn how to do the adult part to do something right.
Yeah.
And and I think if we got a bit more of that as his journey, um, through the responsibilities of hanging out with a 9-year-old and being in love with his mother, I think that probably would have beefed up the script a little bit more. But yeah, with that being said, Jake, what would you rate this script? Is it a green light for you, or is it a pass?
You know what? Quite simply, it's a green light. And the reason that I would green light it is characterization, it's comedy, it's funny. I think the writer did a really good job of the interactions with characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you could call it safe. And maybe you would if, because it follows all the romantic comedy beats.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you would in an era where we have plenty of really good romantic comedies, and it might feel like, well, I'm looking for one to meet or exceed that. If I was to just, force me to choose right now, I'd say no, I would just for the fact that they don't have them. And I think there should be about anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 or 6 of them a year, um, because I feel like you would get that market. It's always been a safe.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, like horror, it's always it's a reliable one if you can get the marketing just right.
Yeah, don't oversaturate. Don't do too many
Mhm.
because there have definitely been times where there's too many, but do them the right times of the year. February, break them up in between a couple of action movies, uh, fall and
Yeah, you do.
Christmas,
Yeah, you do a
and they're going to do
Valentine's Day
well.
one. You do a Valentine's Day one. You do a Thanksgiving one. You do a Christmas run. That's all, like, or at least those 3 seasons. That's all you kind of really need on like the theatrical side of things, because you also have the Hallmark Channel. That's got a romantic comedy
Yeah,
drama every week. Um,
yeah.
so
But
yeah,
but
that's
as
where you
far
get your
as
feed.
I would target this into a theater. I wouldn't make this just, I mean, you want to make it and make it on streaming, that's fine.
Hmm.
But I would target this for a movie because it's something my wife would like, and she's always liked those type of shows, and she drags me to them, and I may like them, I may not like them, it don't matter, but there's definitely a market and it's missing. And if I'm just going off that alone, that's why I'd green light it. But it is also, I think, good.
Yeah, I think it's good as well. I'm shocked that that the script placed 69th out of the near 80, like at that bottom half. This is quite well written. Again, part of the voice where it feels like a person's talking to me about the story as opposed to writing it.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't bother me so much because it only popped that type of gimmick only popped up like 1 or 2 times
Yeah.
in the script overall. And the thing is, I really like the characterizations. I like Mallory. I like Foster. I like Zach. Um, all the other characters that were in the supporting role did exactly what they needed to do. They Chloe stood out for what she was, but she wasn't in there dominating
Yeah.
the story. Damon has like 2 scenes, and that's it. That's all you need. You don't get much else of any of the other characters. It's really nice. It's really intimate. Um, so I mean, I'm gonna give it a green light also because I think this is a nice type of family film. Um, it's got a heck of a good ending, and not the ending you expect.
Yeah.
That's what makes it good. Now over on the Patreon side of things, we got a 50-50 split from Greenlight or Pass, which I think is pretty fair because when you're dealing with a romantic comedy, there's some parts that get you and some parts that don't. Over on the live, our live audience has voted, and there are 67% in favor to Greenlight and 33% to Pass. Excuse me. So yeah, it's like a most romantic comedies that they have out there. There's not any that are 100% liked, but this one is kind of down the middle, a little bit over onto the green light side of it, and I think that's a pretty fair assessment. And I'm glad that it was a romantic drama and not a thriller. I mean, I would be worried if this was like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith type of thing. I'm
Yeah.
glad that it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for that because yeah, we got too much of those. But speaking of the live audience, we've got a donation of $1.99 from Box Office Brawler. Uh, nice guy. Got to stream with him a few weeks ago. Fun channel, so go check him out because it's him and his other like young generation colleagues with a couple of old timers like myself. Uh, shooting the breeze, talking about some films and rediscovering some great ones and learning about that. So feel free to check them out. He writes, "How much trouble are we in for Netflix Warner Brothers merger?" Uh, Yet to be determined. That's all the best I can say right now. Um, one of the thoughts I can say is because Netflix is not a studio in the same method of Paramount, Sony, Disney, and Universal. If a merger were to go through, the likelihood of Warner Brothers being cut in half for redundancy jobs it's almost non-existent. A lot of people would still be fairly safe working at that studio, which means a lot of jobs are not going to be lost as a result of that merger versus any other studio. It's not an ideal situation. I don't know what the future will be in store for that, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see.
The only jobs may be lost is the cable news side of it. But that was always going to get dumped, whether Warner dropped them off or
Yeah,
or
I will.
because that Wasn't that the original plan when Warner and Discovery merged was they were going to drop off the dead weight?
Yep, deadweight would go to one of the companies to either be uh, completely dropped off or refurbished under a different banner. So,
Hmm.
I mean, that's still kind of in the works. I think it's just depending on how this offer with
Yeah.
Netflix goes, that could the rollout will be different. I don't think
Yeah.
the result will be different, but I think the method of how will probably be different. Um, all right. Well, Jake, thanks so much, man, for hanging out with me for the last 2 hours and change to talk about a romantic drama script. Um,
Yeah.
love your thoughts as always. Love having you out here. I really do appreciate it. And yeah,
Well, thanks.
it's 101 episodes. Yeah, it's great. We're in the triple digits right now, and I'm hoping we're able to keep it going for a good while longer. I want to do a special shout out and thank you to our mods in the chat. So Darren M and Lord Thothy. Thank you so much for there, and everybody else listening live. Thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday evening, where two guys get to talk about a screenplay that may or may not one day become a film. Um, and I also want to say special thanks to a Dag Outlaw, who also co-hosts on the show. He's in the chat helping modding as well. Although you guys out there in the live chat, you are so polite and so nice and so encouraging. You don't need any moderation. So thank you so much for being here. I want to wish all of you guys a great, wonderful weekend. And we'll be here next week with another script. So until then, guys, take care, have fun, and never forget when it comes to great story, it all starts with the script.